Hello friends. This week brought several significant pieces of news that affect pensioners across the United Kingdom, and most of it has not made the evening news in any meaningful way. One announcement came directly from the DWP on the 13th of July and affects every single person in this country who has a workplace pension. One involves a tax change that is now confirmed in law and that is quietly closing a window that millions of people do not yet know is open. One involves a benefit that has just been extended to a group of people who were previously excluded from it, and who may not realise they can now claim. And one involves a forecast that shifted again this week, and that shift matters for what lands in your account next April. Today I am walking through all four. Before we get into it, subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell. News like this moves fast, and the window to act on some of it is limited. Subscribe now and let us get into it. Let us start with the announcement that came from the Department for Work and Pensions on the 13th of July, because this one has been described by pension experts as the most significant reform to private pensions in a generation. The DWP published the official implementation timetable for the Pensions Act and the new Value for Money framework on Monday. Here is what this means in practice. Every workplace pension scheme in the United Kingdom will now be required to publish standardised, comparable data on their investment returns, their costs, and the outcomes they deliver for members. For the first time, savers will be able to look at their pension provider and see, in plain figures, whether that provider has been delivering good value, or whether it has been consuming charges and delivering mediocre returns, while better performing alternatives exist. The government's own projections suggest that eliminating underperforming schemes, what it is calling the flight zone, could preserve approximately £5,000 in savings for every 5 years of pension accumulation. For someone with 20 years of contributions ahead of them, that represents a meaningful difference in retirement income. There is also a significant strategic shift in where large pension funds will be directed to invest. The new strategy sets out that major UK pension funds will be actively directed toward investing in British infrastructure, clean energy projects, artificial intelligence, and the life sciences sector. Your pension pot will increasingly be invested in domestic assets and growth sectors. If you have a workplace pension, whether you are still contributing or whether you deferred into one during your working years, check which scheme manages it. The requirement to publish value for money data is phased in, with larger schemes required to comply first. But the direction is clear. Transparency is now mandatory, and poorly performing schemes face regulatory pressure to consolidate into larger, better performing alternatives. The second piece of news was confirmed months ago, but its practical deadline is now becoming urgent, and most people with pension savings are still unaware of it. The Finance Act 2026, which received royal assent in March, confirmed that from the 6th of April 2027, unspent pension funds will be included in the inheritance tax estate for the first time. Until now, pension pots passed outside the estate entirely. They went to nominated beneficiaries free of inheritance tax, regardless of the size of the pot. That protection ends on the 6th of April 2027. From that date, pension savings that have not been drawn down will be counted as part of the deceased's estate, and subject to inheritance tax at 40% on any amount above the nil rate band. This is not a distant future change, it is 9 months away. And the planning window, the period during which certain decisions can be made before the new rules apply, is closing. A pension pot of £400,000 that would previously have passed to the next generation in full will, under the new rules, potentially attract a 40% tax charge on the amount above the nil rate band. For people drawing down from a pension, the rate at which you draw and the order in which you use different assets can significantly affect the inheritance tax outcome. For people who have not yet started drawing down, the decision of when to begin has just acquired an additional layer of complexity. The window to take advice and make decisions that still fall under the old rules is open until the 5th of April 2027. After that date, the new rules apply regardless. The third piece of news involves a benefit extension that will directly affect families who have been excluded from support they deserved. The bereavement support payment, a lump sum and monthly payments available to people who lose a spouse or civil partner, has been extended to include unmarried cohabiting partners where the couple had dependent children. Previously, the payment was only available to legally married couples or civil partners, which left many cohabiting families receiving nothing despite years of shared life and shared financial dependence. The payment consists of a higher rate lump sum of £3,500, followed by 18 monthly payments of £350, a total of £9,800. And critically, the change now fully covers cohabiting couples with dependent children, meaning if you lost an unmarried partner and were previously told you did not qualify, it is worth checking your position again through Citizens' advice. If you know someone who lost a long-term unmarried partner and was told at the time that they did not qualify for bereavement support payment, that position may have changed. Citizens' advice can assess individual eligibility. The fourth thing is an update to a forecast that has shifted again this week, and it matters for what arrives in your bank account next April. The triple lock increase for April 2027 is calculated using September's CPI inflation figure and wage growth data from May to July, numbers we will not have until October. But the signals coming out of financial markets this week have moved the forecast significantly. Deutsche Bank confirmed this week that they now expect the Bank of England to hold interest rates at 3.75% through the rest of 2026, with no cuts at all this year. The reason is persistent inflationary pressure in energy and food costs, driven in part by ongoing instability in global commodity markets. What this means for the triple lock is that the September CPI figure is increasingly likely to come in at 3% or above. If wage growth holds above 3% as well, the triple lock for April 2027 will deliver a meaningful increase. In pound terms, every 1% on the triple lock adds approximately £2.41 to the full new weekly state pension of £241.30. A 4% increase would add approximately £9.65 a week, over £500 a year. But the same inflationary pressures pushing the triple lock forecast upward are also pushing energy bills, food prices, and council tax upward. The increase you receive in April 2027 compensates for the cost of living as measured in September 2026. If prices continue rising through the winter, which current forecasts suggest they will, the real terms purchasing power of that increase may be significantly smaller than the headline figure implies. The check goes up, so does everything else. So here is the complete picture for this week. The DWP published the Value for Money implementation timetable on the 13th of July. Every workplace pension will now be required to publish comparable performance data, underperforming schemes face consolidation, and pension funds will be directed toward British infrastructure and growth sectors. The Finance Act 2026 confirms that unspent pension pots will be subject to inheritance tax from the 6th of April 2027. The planning window is 9 months and closing, and anyone with substantial pension savings needs to take advice before that date. The bereavement support payment now fully covers cohabiting couples with dependent children. If you know someone who lost an unmarried partner and was previously told they did not qualify, it is worth checking through Citizens' advice. And the triple lock forecast for April 2027 has shifted upward following Deutsche Bank's revised interest rate outlook. A meaningful increase is looking more likely, but the inflationary pressures driving that forecast are the same ones that will consume much of it in real terms. Subscribe. Share this with someone you know who has a pension or who has been bereaved. I will see you in the next one.